The Last Dawn. Commander Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of the ESS Hyperion, watching Earth's last sunrise of 2157. The blue marble that had cradled humanity for millennia now bore the scars of the Nexus invasion, massive dark patches where their biomechanical spores had taken root. Her reflection in the reinforced plasteel window showed the toll of 18 months of continuous warfare, new lines around her eyes, a streak of gray in her once jet-black hair, and the haunted look that all survivors shared. Commander, Arya's holographic form materialized beside her, taking the shape of a translucent blue sphere with pulsing patterns that mimicked neural networks. The Vrax fleet has breached the Kuiper Belt defense line. Estimated arrival at Jupiter's orbit, 72 hours. Sarah closed her eyes, remembering the day everything changed. The Nexus had arrived first, their massive organic ships darkening the skies above every major city. Humanity had barely begun to understand their threat when the Vrax appeared, claiming they'd followed the biological contamination to eradicate it. Earth had become a battlefield between two alien forces, with humanity caught in the crossfire. "Show me the latest analysis of the Meridian artifacts," she ordered, turning away from Earth's view. The holographic display filled with Dr. Marcus Rivera's research notes. The xenobiologist had been working around the clock since they discovered the ancient ruins on Mars, convinced they held the key to humanity's survival. In his latest report, Marcus wrote with barely contained excitement, "The Meridian star maps show a pattern. They weren't just recording their travels, they were marking something. Something they were running from." The door to the observation deck slid open with a soft hiss. Captain Zara Williams entered, her flight suit still bearing scorch marks from her latest engagement with Vrax fighters. "Commander, you need to see this. We've decoded more of the Meridian text. It's not just a warning, it's a blueprint." Sarah followed Zara to the tactical room, where Dr. Rivera was waiting. The usually composed xenobiologist was pacing, his hands shaking as he manipulated the holographic displays. His dark eyes were bright with a mixture of fear and discovery. "The Meridians," Marcus began, "they found a way to transcend physical space. Not through conventional FTL travel, but through something they called the cosmic weave. They built anchor points across thousands of galaxies, creating a network that could instantly transport entire civilizations." Engineer Kai Patel spoke up from his workstation, where he'd been analyzing the technical aspects of the Meridian data. "The math checks out, Commander. It's like they found a way to fold space itself, creating shortcuts through the universe. But the power requirements would be astronomical," Dr. Elena Volkov finished, entering the room with her medical tablet in hand. The human body wasn't designed for that kind of transition. The gravitational stresses alone would tear us apart. Sarah studied the ancient star maps, noting how they formed an intricate web across the galaxy. But the Meridians solved that problem, didn't they? They found a way to protect themselves during the journey. Marcus nodded eagerly. "Yes, and that's where it gets interesting. They developed a biological adaptation, a way to temporarily alter their physical structure to withstand the transition. Dr. Volkov and I believe we can modify their solution for human physiology." Lieutenant James Cooper, who had been quietly observing from the corner, finally spoke. "How long would it take to implement this? The Vrax won't give us much time, and the Nexus are still trying to assimilate every human colony they can reach." Arya's sphere pulsed with rapid calculations. "Based on current resource allocation and research speeds, implementing a working prototype would take approximately 68 hours. The same time the Vrax will reach Jupiter," Sarah muttered. She studied the faces of her crew, the best minds humanity had to offer, brought together by apocalyptic circumstances. They were tired, scared, but still fighting. A sudden alert blared through the ship's systems. Multiple Nexus bioships detected emerging from Saturn's rings. Arya announced. "They're on an intercept course with the Vrax fleet." Sarah's mind raced through the possibilities. The Nexus and Vrax would engage each other, buying humanity precious time. But their battles always left devastating collateral damage across the solar system. Dr. Rivera, you have 48 hours to perfect that adaptation process. Captain Williams, prepare your squadrons for deep space combat drills. If we're going to use the Meridian network, we need pilots who can handle extreme conditions. Engineer Patel, start modifying our ship's shield harmonics to match the Meridian specifications. She turned to Dr. Volkov. Elena, work with Marcus. I need to know exactly what this will do to our people. We're not just fighting for survival anymore, we're fighting for the future of our species. The crew dispersed to their tasks, leaving Sarah alone with Arya. The AI's form shifted, showing a real-time simulation of the approaching alien fleets. Commander, Arya said, its voice modulated with what could almost be called concern, there's something else in the Meridian data. A pattern I've detected in their final transmissions. They weren't just running from something, they were trying to prevent something from following them. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. What do you mean? The cosmic weave isn't just a transportation network. It's a lock. And we're about to use the key. As if to punctuate Arya's warning, a massive explosion lit up the space near Saturn, marking the first clash between the Nexus and Vrax forces. The light reached the Hyperion's observation deck, casting long shadows across the room. Sarah Chen, commander of humanity's last fleet, watched the battle unfold and made her decision. Send word to all human settlements and ships. Tell them to prepare for immediate evacuation. If we're going to survive this, we need to take the biggest risk in human history. She turned back to Earth's view, watching as another dawn broke over the Pacific. And Arya? Start calculating every possible exit point from the cosmic weave. If something followed the meridians, I want to make sure we don't end up wherever they went. The next 48 hours would determine whether humanity had a future among the stars, or if they would join the meridians in extinction. As Sarah Chen began issuing orders to her fleet, she couldn't help but wonder, in their desperate bid for survival, were they about to make first contact with something far worse than the Nexus or Vrax? The first part of humanity's greatest journey was about to begin, and there would be no turning back. The price of knowledge. Dr. Marcus Rivera's hands trembled as he injected the modified Meridian compound into the test subject, himself. He'd refused to let anyone else take the risk, despite Dr. Volkov's vociferous objections. The silvery liquid burned through his veins, and he bit back a scream as his cellular structure began to alter. Vital signs are spiking, Elena Volkov announced, her Russian accent thickening with concern as she monitored the medical readouts. Brain activity is off the charts. Marcus, if we don't stop now. No, he gasped, gripping the laboratory table. We need to know if it works. The Vrax fleet is less than 30 hours out. The pain intensified, but with it came something else, a sensation of expansion, as if his consciousness was stretching beyond the confines of his physical form. Through blurred vision, he saw Arya's holographic form analyzing the data streams. Fascinating, the AI commented. The compound isn't just modifying his biology, it's creating quantum entanglement at the cellular level. Suddenly, Marcus's perception shifted. He wasn't just in the lab anymore, he could feel the vibrations of the cosmic weave, the ancient network the Meridians had built. It hummed with a frequency that made his modified cells resonate. But in that harmony, he detected a discordant note, a wrongness that made his newly enhanced senses recoil. They're coming, he whispered, his eyes rolling back. The things that followed the Meridians, they're still out there, still hunting. Commander Chen burst into the lab, followed by Captain Williams. We've got bigger problems, Sarah announced. The Nexus aren't just fighting the Vrax, they're hurting them, pushing them toward Earth. It's a coordinated strategy we've never seen before. Zara Williams pulled up a tactical display, her fighter pilot's instincts reading the patterns. Look at their formation. They're not trying to destroy each other anymore. They're. She paused, horror dawning on her face. They're working together. Elena administered a stabilizing agent to Marcus, who was slowly regaining his composure. "That's impossible," the doctor muttered. "The Vrax's entire mission is to eliminate organic life. Why would they cooperate with the Nexus?" "Because they're both running from something worse," Marcus said, his voice stronger now. "The Meridian compound, it didn't just change my body. I can see fragments of their memories, encoded in the very structure of the serum. The Meridians didn't build the cosmic weave to explore. They built it to escape." Engineer Kai Patel rushed into the lab, his dark face slick with sweat. "Commander, you need to see this. We've finished analyzing the power requirements for the cosmic weave activation. We can't generate enough energy with our current resources." Sarah's expression hardened. "What do we need?" "A massive power source," Kai explained, projecting the calculations. "Something like a star. Or a controlled antimatter reaction," Arya interjected. "The Vrax ships use antimatter drives. If we could capture one, we'd have our power source," Sarah finished. She turned to Zara. "Captain, how do you feel about a heist?" A smile curved Zara's lips. "Finally, something more exciting than running away. But if the Vrax and Nexus are cooperating, we'll need a new strategy. Their combined forces would tear apart a conventional assault." Lieutenant Cooper's voice came over the comm system. "Commander, ground teams are reporting unusual seismic activity near the Meridian ruins on Mars. Something's activating down there." Marcus struggled to his feet, his eyes now bearing a strange metallic sheen, a side effect of the compound. "It's responding to the changes in my biochemistry. The Meridians left fail-safes, ways to access the weave in emergencies. We're not just looking for a power source, we need to find the right gate." Dr. Volkov reviewed his latest medical scans with growing concern. "The compound is stabilizing, but it's also spreading. Your cellular structure is continuing to alter. Within 24 hours, you'll either be fully transformed or—" She didn't need to finish the sentence. Death was always the unspoken alternative. Sarah made her decision. "Zara, prep your best pilots. We're going to split their forces. The Nexus can't resist trying to assimilate new consciousness, we'll use that against them. Dr. Rivera, you said you can sense the weave now. Can you tell which gate we need to access?" Marcus closed his eyes, concentrating. "Mars," he said finally. "The ruins aren't ruins at all. They're a dormant gate complex." "But Sarah." He opened his eyes, and for a moment, they glowed with an inner light. "What I saw in the Meridian memories, the things that followed them, they're like nothing we've ever encountered. They don't just exist in normal space. They feed on consciousness itself." "One problem at a time," Sarah responded, though her voice betrayed her unease. "Kai, start modifying our largest cargo ships. If we're going to steal an antimatter drive, we'll need somewhere to put it. Elena, synthesize more of that compound. Every pilot in Zara's strike team will need it to survive the mission." "And what about the rest of the fleet?" James Cooper asked, joining them in the lab. "We've got civilian ships from every surviving Earth colony waiting on our signal. They can't all take the compound in time." Arya's form flickered as it processed possibilities. "The Meridians found a way to extend the quantum field generated by transformed individuals. If we position ships correctly, we could create a bubble of protection large enough to transport the entire fleet. Assuming we survive stealing an antimatter drive from a combined Vrax Nexus fleet," Zara added dryly. Sarah studied the tactical display, watching as the alien armada drew ever closer to Jupiter. "We have 28 hours before they reach optimal strike range. Dr. Rivera, you have 12 hours to perfect that compound and teach us everything you've learned about the weave. Captain Williams, you have 6 hours to train your pilots in the new parameters. The rest of you, prepare for the fight of our lives." As the others rushed to their tasks, Marcus grabbed Sarah's arm. "Commander, wait. There's something else. In the Meridian memories, I saw, they didn't all escape. Some stayed behind, seeded throughout the galaxy. Sleeper agents, waiting to warn others about what's coming. Are you saying there might be Meridians still alive? Here in our solar system? Not alive. Not exactly. But their consciousness. He tapped his temple, where silver lines were beginning to trace patterns under his skin. It's all stored in the gates. Every memory, every experience, every piece of knowledge they gathered about their hunters. We just have to survive long enough to access it. Sarah looked out the lab window at the distant shape of Mars, glowing red against the black of space. Somewhere on that dusty surface lay humanity's best hope for survival, and possibly their doom. Then let's make sure we survive, she said. Because I have a feeling we're going to need every scrap of knowledge we can get. As if in answer, the ship's sensors detected new energy signatures near Saturn. The Vrax and Nexus fleets were accelerating, their combined forces casting a shadow across the solar system. The race to unlock the cosmic weave had begun, and humanity wasn't just running from their current enemies anymore. They were running from something that had already devoured one civilization, and was hungry for more. Beyond the weave. The cosmic weave pulsed with energies never meant for human comprehension. Commander Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the ESS Hyperion, her body transformed by the Meridian compound, watching as reality itself bent around their fleet. The stolen Vrax antimatter drive hummed beneath them, its power channeled through the ancient gate on Mars, tearing a hole in spacetime. Dr. Marcus Rivera, his body now more energy than matter, floated beside her. Silver patterns covered his skin entirely, his eyes windows into the quantum realm. They're right behind us, he said, his voice resonating on multiple frequencies. The Void Hunters. That's what the Meridians called them. Through the transformed crew's shared consciousness, they all saw what Marcus saw, beings of pure darkness moving between dimensions, consuming consciousness itself, leaving empty husks of civilization in their wake. The Nexus and Vrax weren't working together by choice, they were being driven like cattle, herded across the galaxy by predators beyond their comprehension. All ships report ready, Arya announced, its code now quantum entangled with the Meridian technology. The civilian fleet is secured within our protective bubble. But the hunters, they're trying to access the weave. Captain Zara Williams, her fighter squadrons in formation around the fleet, opened a channel. Commander, we can't hold them back much longer. The Void Hunters they're pulling the consciousness right out of anyone who isn't protected by the compound. Sarah watched as the last human ships entered formation. Behind them, Earth grew smaller, a blue jewel in the darkness. The combined Vrax and Nexus fleets were being torn apart by invisible forces, their crews becoming empty shells as the Void Hunters fed. Dr. Volkov, status of the compound distribution? Sarah demanded. Elena's voice came through, strained but determined. 70% of the fleet's crews have been transformed. The rest are holding stable within the quantum bubble, but we're seeing signs of strain. We need to jump now, Commander. Engineer Kai Patel's hands flew over his console, channeling power from the antimatter drive. Gate synchronization at maximum. It's now or never. Lieutenant Cooper's ground forces, evacuated from Mars after securing the gate, reported from the auxiliary ships. Multiple dimensional breaches detected. They're trying to cut us off from the weave access point. Sarah felt it then, a cold touch at the edge of her consciousness. The Void Hunters were ancient, patient, and utterly alien. They had chased the Meridians across countless galaxies, consuming civilizations, growing stronger with each mind they devoured. And now they had found their next meal. But the Meridians had left humanity more than just technology. Through the compound, through the transformed humans who now carried their memories, they had passed on something else, hope, and a plan centuries in the making. Marcus, Sarah called out, show me what the Meridians showed you. All of it. Marcus reached out, his transformed hand connecting with Sarah's. In an instant, she saw the full scope of the Meridian's desperate gambit. They hadn't just built the cosmic weave as an escape route, they had created a trap, seeded throughout the multiverse, waiting for the right moment, the right combination of consciousness and technology. They were never running, Sarah whispered. They were laying groundwork. Spreading themselves thin so the hunters would have to do the same. Arya's presence expanded through the ship's systems as understanding dawned. The gates. They're not just transportation nodes. They're connection points, Marcus finished. The Meridians couldn't fight the Void Hunters in normal space. But in the weave, with enough conscious minds linked together. Sarah straightened, her decision made. All ships, this is Commander Chen. Prepare for Emergency Protocol Omega. Dr. Rivera, Dr. Volkov, link all transformed crews. Engineer Patel, divert all power to the quantum field generators. Captain Williams, bring your squadrons in tight. What are we doing, Commander? Zara asked, even as she complied. We're going to give the hunters what they want, the biggest concentration of consciousness they've ever encountered. And when they take the bait. The void between spaces lit up with unknowable energies as the hunters closed in. But this time, humanity wasn't running. The transformed crews linked minds, their consciousness spreading through the weave, connecting to countless dormant meridian nodes scattered across space and time. They're in range. Marcus called out. The trap is ready. Sarah gave the order, now. The antimatter drive detonated, not in normal space, but in the quantum realm of the weave. The combined consciousness of humanity and the scattered meridian essences surged through the network. The Void Hunters, drawn to such a feast, found themselves caught in a web of awareness that spanned galaxies. Reality trembled. The Hunters, for the first time in their ancient existence, screamed. Through their shared consciousness, Sarah felt the plan's success. The Hunters weren't being destroyed, they were being transformed, their very nature rewoven by the combined will of two civilizations fighting for survival. When the quantum storm cleared, the fleet emerged in a new galaxy, far from Earth. But they weren't alone. Where the Hunters had been, new forms of consciousness now existed, beings born from the merger of predator and prey, hunter and hunted. Did we win? Zara asked, her fighters regrouping around the civilian ships. Marcus, his form slowly stabilizing, smiled. We did more than win. We evolved. All of us, humans, Meridians, even the Hunters. The weave wasn't an escape route or a weapon. It was an incubator. Sarah looked out at the star-filled space before them, seeing it with new eyes, eyes that could perceive the quantum threads connecting all consciousness across the universe. The transformed humans were something new now, carrying within them the legacy of the Meridians and the power of the Hunters, tempered by their own humanity. Arya, status of the fleet. The AI's response came not through speakers, but directly into their shared awareness. All ships accounted for. The civilian vessels are intact within the quantum bubble. And Commander. I'm detecting signals. Other gates, other survivors. We're not alone out here. Elena's medical readings confirmed what they all felt, the transformation was stable, permanent, and spreading naturally to the next generation. Humanity would never be the same, but they had gained something profound in exchange for their old form. So, James Cooper asked, what do we do now? Sarah Chen, commander of what was perhaps the last human fleet, and the first of something new, gazed out at the endless possibilities before them. Now we do what humanity has always done. We explore. We learn. We grow. But this time, we do it together, all of us. The fleet moved forward into the unknown, carrying within them the seeds of 3 civilizations and the promise of countless more to come. The cosmic weave hummed with new frequencies, a symphony of consciousness that would never again know the silence of extinction. As they approached their first new star, Sarah felt the combined hopes of her crew, the whispered memories of the Meridians, and even the ancient knowledge of the transformed hunters, all flowing together into something greater than the sum of its parts. The war for survival was over. The journey of transformation had begun. And somewhere, in the quantum spaces between moments, the last fragments of the original Meridian consciousness smiled, their centuries-long plan finally complete. They had not only ensured their own survival through humanity but had transformed their greatest enemy into their greatest asset. The stars beckoned, and humanity, changed, evolved, but undefeated, answered their call, ready to write the next chapter in their cosmic story. New Year's Day, 2158, marked not the end of humanity, but its transcendence. The fight across the stars had led them not to mere survival, but to a rebirth that would echo across the universe for eons to come. The end was just the beginning.